Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Ayuni binti Muhammad Zafri. My metric number is 059090. So I will talk about the crime against humanity. Next slide is the introduction. Treaties has formalized genocide and war crimes, whereas crimes against humanity have emerged under customary international law. The Nuremberg Tribunal Charter was the first to charge crimes against humanity. The Charter and the Nuremberg verdict established the definition of crimes against humanity. In 1946, the UN General Assembly accepted the notion of crimes against humanity. Since Second World War, the content of crimes against humanity has evolved through the jurisprudence of the ICTY, ICTR, and the ICC. Crimes against humanity as it existed under customary international law is frequently reflected in the statutes of international tribunals. The international community formed ad hoc tribunals in the 1990s to punish perpetrators of crimes against humanity, war crime, and genocide. The International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia and the International Criminal Tribunal for the Rwanda were among them. The ICTY and ICTR, unlike earlier international tribunals, included rape and torture on their list of crimes against humanity. Next is elements of crimes against humanity. A crime against humanity is committed when the accused commits a prohibited act like an attack, which is widespread or systematic and directed against any civilian population, and when there is a link or nexus between the acts of the accused and the attack. The ICTY statute mandates that the attack take place during armed conflict. The ICTY statute demands a discriminatory elements in the attack. Under customary international law, neither of the factors is required by the concept of crimes against humanity. Neither of these additional items is required at the ICC. A crime against humanity is defined as the commission of certain unlawful acts as part of a widespread or systematic attack on a civilian population. What would have been a regular domestic crime such as murder becomes a crime against humanity when committed in this context. Next, an attack. Factors to be considered when determining when an attack against a civilian population has taken place include were the discriminatory measures imposed by the relevant authority? Was there an authoritarian takeover the region where the crimes occurred? Did the new authority in fact establish governmental structures? Did summary arrest, detention, torture, rape, sexual violence, or other crimes take place? Did massive transfers of civilians to camp take place? Was the enemy population removed from the area? The terms attack and military attack are not synonymous. Even when there is no armed combat, a crime against humanity can occur. As a result, an attack is not limited to the use of military force or the conduct of armed conflict. The attack could also occur before, after, or during the armed conflict without necessarily being a part of it. According to ICTY and ICTI jurisprudence, as well as the Rome Statute, an attack attended at a civilian population must have at least many victims or acts. The ICTR stated in the Clement Kayashima and Ors that the acts could be of the same or different nature. An attack is defined as a campaign or operation carried out against the civilian population by the ICC. The next is prohibited underlying acts. The ICTY and ICTR statutes prohibit the following underlying offences that can constitute crimes against humanity. It is murder, extermination, enslavement, deportation, imprisonment, torture, rape, persecution on political, racial, and religious grounds, and other inhuman acts. The ICC has also incorporated the following acts under crimes against humanity, which is sexual slavery and forced prostitution, forced pregnancy, other sexual violence, enforced disappearance and apartheid. Next is murder. Murder is defined as the unlawful and intentional killing of a human being. Mens rea. The culprit means to kill or inflict grievous bodily injury likely to result in death, but is unsure if death will occur. In Pavle Struger case, the appeals panel acknowledged that the mens rea covers both direct and indirect kind of intention. It is not necessary to recover the body in order to establish beyond a reasonable doubt that a person was killed. Next is extermination. According to the case of Taki, the elements of the crime is extermination are the killing of persons on a massive scale, actus reus, and the accused intent by his act or omission of either killing on a large scale or the subjection of a widespread number of people or the systematic subjection of a number of people. Extermination is a form of mass murder. Extermination can be committed by someone who murders someone in the context of mass killing. The term mass, which can also mean on a vast scale, does not imply a minimum number of killings, but should be evaluated on a case-by-case basis using common sense. Extermination must also be collective rather than directed at specific individuals unless unlike genocide. So next is enslavement or slavery. The definition of enslavement is partly based on the Slavery Convention of 1956. Enslavement is defined by the use of any or all of the power associated with the right of ownership over a person at this risk, as well as the willful exercise of this power, mens rea. The instance of Kunaret, the ICTY ruled that the elements of enslavement as a crime against humanity are the same as the elements of slavery as a violation of war, law, or convention. The nature of the accused relationship with the victim is critical to enslavement. Factors to be considered in determining the nature of the relationship: control of someone's movement, control of the physical environment, physiological control, measures taken to prevent or deter escape force, threat of force or coercion, assertion of exclusivity, subjection to cruel treatment and abuse, control of sexuality, control of forced labor and duration of that control. It is frequently insufficient to simply demonstrate that a person was imprisoned. Another sign of enslavement must exist, such as exploitation, forced labor, sex, prostitution, or human trafficking. Next is deportation. According to the ICTY, in the case of Taki, the elements of deportation are the forced displacement of persons by expulsion or other form of coercion from the area in which they are lawfully present, across the juristic border, or in certain circumstances, a de facto border, in violation of international law actus reus, with the intent to do so, mens rea. It is not necessary that the perpetrator plan to permanently relocate the person. There is no obligation that a certain number of people be deported or relocated. Furthermore, the return of victim has no bearing on the perpetrator criminal's guilt. Next is imprisonment. According to the case of Cordic and Ors, imprisonment as a crime against humanity should be interpreted as an arbitrary confinement, that is, the deprivation of an individual liberty without due process of law as part of a widespread or systematic attack designed against a civilian population. To establish that house arrest and other types of deprivation of physical liberty might constitute incarceration. Article 7 of the Rome Statute contains the phrase or other severe deprivation of bodily liberty as part of the crimes against humanity of imprisonment. The deprivation must be arbitrary. However, it is recognized that small procedural error would not be sufficient to constitute imprisonment. Next is torture. The ICI definition is based on the Committee Against Torture definition. but is it not the same? Torture has been classified as a grave breach of the Geneva Convention, a violation of the rules of custom of an crimes against humanity in the number of ICTY and ICTI decision. At the ICC, the definition of torture stays the same regardless of the kind of atrocity crime charged. The element of torture, as has been listed down in the case of Penarat, which are the infliction by act or omission, or severe pain of suffering, whether physical or mental. The act or omission must be intentional and it must aim at obtaining information or a confession or at punishing, intimidating, humiliating, or coercing the victim or a third person, or at discriminating or any ground against the victim or a third person. The next is rape. The ICTY defines menstruation as the purpose to carry out the sexual penetration and the awareness that it occurs with the victim permission. The crime of rape is defined by the ICC element of crime Article 7, Clause 1, Clause G, 2, Clause 2 as the perpetrator invaded the body of a person, however slight, of any part of the victim's or the perpetrator body with a sexual organ, or of the victim's anal or genital opening with any object or any part of the body. Force or the threat of force of coercion, such as that produced by fear of violence, pressure, incarceration, psychology operation, or abuse of authority, was used against such person or another person, or the invention was perpetrated against a person incapable of giving real consent. However, nothing in the elements or statutes implies that the offender required to be aware of the victim's agreement. The concept of conduct is more gender neutral and comprehensive than that of International Criminal Court. Next is persecution on political, racial, and religious grounds. Persecution is defined in the ICTY as an act or omission that discriminates inactuality and denies or infringes on a basic right enshrined in the international, customary, or treaty law and was committed with the aim to discriminate one of the aforementioned reasons. Discrimination can be based on political, racial, or religious ground at the ICTY and ICTR. Although persecution is sometimes associated with a succession of acts, the ICTY, a single act may be sufficient. It is discriminate in actuality and was carried out with the intent to discriminate on one of the stated grounds. A discriminatory act occurs when a person is targeted because of religious, political, or racial grounds because he belongs to a victim group targeted by the perpetrator. However, it must be proven that the act discriminates against the person on one of these grounds. Persecution as a crime against humanity can involve a wide range of action. Next is other inhuman act. Other inhuman acts in the ICTR and ICTY are defined as the occurrence of an act or omission of comparable gravity to the other enumerated act, the act or omission causing serious mental or physical suffering or injury or constituting a serious attack on human dignity, and the act or omission was committed intentionally by the accused or person for whose act and omission he bears criminal responsibility. In the Article 7, Clause 1, Clause K of the Rome Statute, there is a threshold that other inhuman acts must be of similar character to other prohibited acts and cause great suffering or serious injury to body or to mental or physical health. Next is sexual slavery. Although it is a separate crime, sexual slavery is a type of enslavement. According to Article 7, Clause 1, Clause G of the Rome Statute, the perpetrator exercises any or all of the power attaching to the right of ownership over one or more persons, such as by purchasing, selling, lending, or bartering such a person or persons, or by imposing a similar deprivation or of liberty on them, and the perpetrator caused suicidal harm. Human trafficking includes sexual enslavement. The Rome Statute drafted emphasizes that sexual slavery could involve multiple perpetrators as part of a single criminal aim. It was also mentioned that liberty laws could involve forced labor. Forced marriage could also be considered sexual slavery. Next is enforced disappearance. Several international declarations and agreements have designated forced disappearance as a crime against humanity. A person can be charged with enforced disappearance if they either detain a person knowing that no acknowledgement or information would be offered, or if they refuse to acknowledge or provide information regarding a detention knowing that a detention had likely occurred. The underlying act of detention can involve maintaining a confinement that has already occurred and may have been legitimate. If the perpetrator is detained in these circumstances, the perpetrator must be aware that the refusal of acknowledge or provide information regarding the arrest has already occurred. The last one is apartheid. Apartheid is also listed as a crime against humanity in the Rome Statute. Despite the fact that apartheid has long been recognized as a crime against humanity, the ICC definition expanded the crime to include conditions other than those that happened in South Africa. In the context of apartheid, inhuman crimes can include murder, torture, arbitrary incarceration, persecution, condition designed to destroy a group, or legal measure designed to restrict a group from from participating in politics, society, or economic and cultural activities. Apartheid is a specific intent offence under the ICC, requiring the culprit to intend to maintain a regime of systematic operation through the commission of brutal acts. So that's all from me. Thank you.